Welcome back to another episode of I Wish They Knew, a show where we share big ideas that deserve more attention in about the time it takes to enjoy a cup of coffee. I'm Joe Hirsch. Today's wish comes from Dr. Amy Edmondson. Amy is the Novartis Professor of Leadership and Management at the Harvard Business School and is best known for her more than 2 decades of research on psychological safety. She's the OG. Her award-winning work has appeared in leading academic journals and all across the popular press. Amy's been named by Thinkers 50 as the #1 management thinker in the world for 2 times in a row, has worked with the world's most recognized brands, and is the author of 7 books, most recently, Right Kind of Wrong, The Science of Failing Well. Amy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me back, Joe.
It is a pleasure to be talking with you, and congrats on the book and congrats on your recent success. What do you wish more people knew?
I wish more people knew that the most successful among us in essentially every field fail more often, not less often than the rest of us.
Okay, so failure is a fact of life. We all can agree on that. We've also heard calls to fail fast or fail forward. Sometimes we're told that failure is not an option. You want us to fail smarter by pursuing what you call intelligent failure. What do you mean by that?
Intelligent failure is a failure, still undesired, right? But that is goal-driven in new territory with a hypothesis. In other words, you have good reason to believe it might work, and no bigger than it has to be to get the new knowledge that you need. So that's an intelligent failure. That's really a subset. I mean, of all the failures that happen in the world, most of them are not intelligent. And I'm a fan of pursuing and celebrating the intelligent ones, not the rest.
Yeah. So either people are swinging too big, they're not aligning with their purpose or with the organization's goals, and they're almost just attempting to fail by mistake.
Yeah, that would be one way to think of it. So one reason I think intelligent failures are in a minority of the failures that occur is that people don't pay attention to all 4 criteria carefully enough, to in other words, have smart risks or smart experiments, some of which fail, some of which, by the way, will succeed. But the other reason is that we're not consistently good at applying best practices for preventing basic failures and complex failures. We're not good at creating the conditions where people, can speak up in a timely way to avert a failure that they see unfolding but don't feel comfortable speaking up about. So the book has both, recommendations for taking smart risks and tolerating the failures that some of them will bring, but also, and I think importantly, for preventing preventable failures of all kinds.
Yeah, and that's something that comes across very clearly in the book. Failure can be good, mistakes not so good.
Yeah, mistakes not so good, although I always have to say we are fallible human beings, each and every one of us, right? We will make mistakes. Fortunately, in the workplace, many, if not most of them, can be caught and corrected before harm happens, right? So I'll make a mistake, but you'll notice it and you'll just reach in and do something to fix it so that the failure doesn't happen, right? So there's a pathway. I mean, basic failures are ones that are caused by mistakes, but there's this pathway. Sometimes it's very short, but there's a pathway between making a mistake and leading to a failure, whether large or small, that often can be interrupted.
So in our house, we like to invoke Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles, our beloved Eagles. And I got my Kelly Green on here today, who said famously after the Eagles lost the Super Bowl last year, you either win or you learn. Now, lots of us don't learn from failure.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, I love that. First of all, I love that phrase. Even if I, by association, have to be a Patriots fan here in Boston. And by the way, I don't think that's Kelly Green. I think that's olive green. Just
I'm
so
saying
you know.
it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, maybe you're right, and maybe it's my camera or your camera or what have you. But okay,
we're going to project Kelly today.
Okay, you project Kelly, and I digress. I am wearing sort of a nice navy, kind of.
That's right.
New England Navy. Let's see, where was I? Oh, yes. I think why I love that phrase so much, you either fail or you learn, is that it reflects an attitude and a growth mindset, if you will. It reflects an attitude that says we're giving it our all, and sometimes it won't work, but it's okay because we'll learn from it. Now, the challenge is, as your question implied, we're not all uniformly good at learning from our failures. And there are several reasons. One, we just have a natural and understandable aversion to our failures. We don't really want to look at them. We don't want to dig into them and answer the question, what did I do wrong that contributed to this failure? What could I do differently next time? That's both cognitively some work and emotionally even more work. And so we sort of we're likely to kind of just brush them off and say things like, I'll do better next time, rather than roll up our sleeves and do the work of learning from them. The other reason we don't do a good job of learning from failures is, especially in organizations, is that most failures are collective in nature. And so if we're unwilling to speak up about things that go wrong because we're worried about the consequences of doing so, then neither we nor our colleagues are learning the lessons that the failures could have offered us.
So we don't look to failure as a teacher because success is a better substitute.
Yeah, we like success so much better than failure, right? And that's understandable. I'm not speaking against that. I'm just saying that instinct can get you in trouble. It get you in trouble in the following way. It can prevent you from learning as much as you can from the failures that do occur. And if you think about a failure as an investment, you would want to get the returns from your investment, right? You've gone ahead and invested the time, the money, the brain power in that thing that produced a failure. Why not get your money's worth?
Yeah, I like the way that's framed. So if we think about it as an investment, in your work researching and writing the book, did you uncover any ways to optimize that kind of investment, the learning that follows failure, duration or frequency or participation? And I guess, to put it a different way, is there a right kind of learning?
Yes. Yeah. So quick and broad or inclusive, and systematic. So quick means don't, do it as quickly as you can. I mean, don't wait too long because memories fade and life moves on. And plus you might as well reap that investment right away so that you can use it going forward. So it is tempting to sort of put off the work of learning from, a failure of some kind. By broad or inclusive, I mean, in organizational context, especially, bring together the different people and perspectives that might have had a different lens on what happened. You're really there to ask the all-important question, what happened? Not who did it, not what's to blame, not who should we punish, but what happened? And then kind of why, right? What are the things that I did? What are the things you did? Or what are the things I didn't do? Errors of omission are often to blame for failures. And analytical or systematic means, let's be scientific about it, right? Just try to have a cool, clear-eyed view of what happened and to understand it so that we can make the changes we want to make to do better next time.
So there are certain industries where failure can be catastrophic. I certainly don't want the person flying my plane or doing open heart surgery on me to fail. Right. How would you and how can you persuade people in those industries that are either highly regulated or the stakes are just super high to start to adopt and embrace these kind of intelligent failures?
Well, they are absolutely right to say, for us, failure is not an option in the course of ordinary operations. If you are flying a flight from Boston to Chicago, it is essential that things go as well as humanly possible, and that you land that plane safely in Chicago with everybody healthy, right, on board. And the key is to understand, how did we get to the point where that's even a reasonable statement? Right? Well, we got there through considerable training in simulators where people did fail. We got there through considerable failures in laboratories when engines and airplanes and controls were being developed and invented and perfected. Right? So the failures in high-risk industries happen, but they happen in the proper, safe environments for them to happen. The same is true for cardiac surgery. In fact, I opened chapter 1 of the book with an early cardiac surgery by Dr. Clarence Dennis in 1951, where the patient dies. And I argue it's the right kind of wrong, because this had never been attempted before, and the patient would have died without the surgery. The patient had a congenital and life-threatening hole in her heart, many holes, it turns out, in her heart. And her only option, much like in a battlefield, was to have this surgery. But the surgery was brand new, and very few things that are brand new and wildly innovative work the first time. So in high-risk industries, in industries where life and death are at stake, the well-run, and really most of them are, organizations have learned where and how to do proper experimentation, and where and how to put in place supports, training, procedures, and cultures to allow people to operate safely, and including the psychological safety that requires. But so in fact, the whole essence of the book, Right Kind of Wrong, is that there is a right kind of failure and a not right kind of failure. And I think that's what your question is alluding to. And most people don't have a thoughtful appreciation of that difference.
Mm. So in addition to creating cultures that are psychologically safe, no small feat there, of course.
Yeah, no, not easy.
Not easy at all. Are there other ways that leaders can help create the conditions where these right-sized failures are happening much more often?
Yes. First of all, I think they can double down on the mission, right? On the excitement or importance of the mission, whatever that mission is, whether that's a aviation mission or a consumer product mission. Double down on why the world is a better place because we can deliver this important and challenging service or product for the world. And do that often, right? Just refer to why it matters, because what you're trying to do is help people be willing to exert the effort that it takes to come up with thoughtful experiments, the effort it takes to deliver excellence on a well understood territory, right? So double down on purpose. Be crystal clear that you recognize any one of the following, if they're true, that this is new, no one's ever done anything like this before, that this is complex and challenging, or that this is, full of uncertainty. Like if you as a leader are talking about those elements, you're implicitly giving people room for experimenting and speaking up, and you're recognizing explicitly that everything cannot go perfectly, because that's just not the world we're operating in. And then kind of work very hard to create a mindset of we versus me. I mean, we all have self-interest, and that won't go away, and it's neither shameful nor, it's part of it. But when we can put our self-interest at least slightly to the side to be a part of a meaningful collective, we're happier and the work goes better. Right? So it's this kind of strange thing, because we think we'll be happy if we just get all our needs met and all our wants, met at all times. But in fact, ultimately, happiness comes from that sense of connection to others and that sense of meaning from being part of something larger than yourself.
The book is The Right Kind of Wrong, and the author, and she's right about a lot of things, is Dr. Amy Edmondson. Amy, thanks for sharing your wish with us today.
Thanks for having me.